Hello, welcome into Facts What She Said recap Monday night. Maggie and I will be talking about the Chiefs game. The Packers went on the road to Arrowhead yesterday. Jordan Love was under center for the Green Bay Packers for the very first time in his career. So we were going to dive into all of that. We are going to dive into the defense, holding the Kansas City Chiefs to 13 points. But before we get to the actual game, I have to introduce my lovely co-host and ask her how she's doing.
I'm doing great. I mean, I know the slogan like playing with house money is, it's hit or miss. We felt that way about the Cardinals game too, but I think this really was an example of kind of seeing what you have as far as like tie-breaking procedures and things were concerned. Taking a loss against Kansas City definitely hurts you less than it would against like the Rams or the Vikings or Seattle even next week against the Cardinals last week. So, yeah, I mean, I think we'll break down kind of what our eyes saw, but as far as a holistic game, there were things to love. That was not intended, I promise. There were things to love, and there were things that obviously we want to shoot into the sun.
Yeah. So do we want to start positive, negative? Do we want to just talk about all three phases? Where do you want to? I want you to drive this. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the offense. Let's start with I guess we can even go quarter by quarter because I don't know about you. I thought kind of as the offense progressed, I kind of feel like had the Packers got the ball back with the 2-minute warning, whatever. I know they were without a timeout, that they could have gone down the field. It felt like there were a lot. We said this pre-show, but I felt better about the offense on my rewatch than I did live. There was more that I took away that I liked kind of from Sunday's performance with Love and in general from that offensive output.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen Jordan Love do like a 2-minute drill for the game. Like that would have been sick. But yeah, let's start with the offense. Obviously, it was not Aaron Rodgers, it was Jordan Love. There was a lot to like, there was a lot to dislike. I think for his first start, it was just as chaotic and up and down and inconsistent as you could expect from somebody's first start. I don't know about you. I did not have, obviously I was very excited to see what he had. I was a little bit more excited to see like what Matt LaFleur was going to do with him. And that was the part that was underwhelming to me. There were a couple pieces of this game plan that I just thought were not it. I don't know how else to say it. It was not it. And I felt similarly when I was doing the rewatches I did live. Like, I think there were ways that they could have helped Jordan Love out, like Steve Spagnuolo was sending the house on every drop back because what else would you do to a rookie quarterback? It's a smart move by a very smart defensive coordinator. And the Packers had no answers for that. And that's really where everything stemmed from. The offensive line could not pass block. Jordan Love was being asked to do like 7-step dropbacks and couldn't even get into like his first read by the time pressure was in his face. So it all just kind of trickled down from the inability to like counter the blitz. And so it's really hard to judge a quarterback when all he's doing is like trying to just evade pressure. Can't really tell how accurate Jordan Love actually is. He had some really nice passes. He had some really inaccurate passes, but I don't know. I think from a clean pocket, he looked a lot better than obviously under pressure. That's a very obvious statement, but you would have liked to seen a little bit of a cleaner pocket for him throughout the game because he was able to get the ball down the field when he had like a millisecond more time. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's all really frustrating. And I think part of it too is, to hear Matt LaFleur post game talk about how he probably didn't do enough to set his young quarterback up for success. And I think the question then is, where was the disconnect? Was it that
Yeah.
you weren't expecting that look from the Chiefs defense? Is it that you had 4 days? I think that's something that's kind of underrated in all of this. Yes, we were really excited to see Jordan Love. Yes, he had the offseason, but the wide receivers weren't there. Devontae Adams didn't get to practice this week until Friday because of the COVID protocols. So Jordan Love and Devontae Adams probably had 10 balls between the two of them going
Yeah.
into this game. So there's a lot that, you can account for as far as like play calling, his rapport with his receivers. There were a lot of things and, the comments already talking about it. I think the answer to a lot of that was run the football.
Yeah.
And when you hear Matt LaFleur own up to it post game and say, "Yeah, we got away from the things that we do best." Why is that? I think that's what we're wanting to
Yeah.
know is why does this always happen where you do shy away from the things that tend to be what you're best at?
Yeah, and this is not us being like Jordan Love apologists. Like,
No.
I will fully admit that, like, yeah, he missed some wide open throws, but I also think that the game plan didn't really do him any favors. Like, especially in my rewatch, I thought it was a lot more glaring. Like, AJ Dillon was running the ball. AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones, like the run game was working, and the offensive line was having a much easier time run blocking for them. And when you're getting attacked by the blitz, there's kind of two ways, right, to counter that. It's run the football, which they were doing well, or hit on one of those deep shots and make them stop because, you know, if you hit on the blitz, they have to now like respect the deep shot. Jordan Love wasn't able to really connect on any of those deep sideline shots to Devontae Adams. Again, another question is why you keep going back to those when they're not working? What is working is running the ball. So yeah, I mean, Matt LaFleur owned it today in his press conference. He said like the balance was not there. But it's not really a Jordan Love thing that happens even when Aaron Rodgers is under center, right? That they get away from the run game a little bit sometimes. And you can make the argument in some cases that when they're playing from behind, yeah, maybe you have to throw the football a little bit more, but being down 13-0 is not really playing that far behind. Like you can still play a balanced offense down 13-0, especially when your defense is playing that well and giving you every opportunity in the book to come back and score.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get to that point in this show, but special teams didn't do them any favors. You think about the fact that, it should have been 7-6 going into halftime, potentially could have been something like 7-9 if the
Yeah.
Packers keep that ball.
I don't like the hypotheticals. I get why people do it, but I'm just like, but it didn't happen. So offense needs to also have an answer to counteract that. And I get that like it's kind of like a gut punch when you like think you're going to get points and just like such a momentum crusher, but the offense had so many opportunities to score.
And yeah, there's a part of me that wonders too, kind of looking at the offense. I'd be curious, I guess, how much Aaron Rodgers is responsible for in the huddle. Like, we always
Yeah.
talked about with McCarthy, the audibles and the way that he would kind of change plays at the line. We didn't expect any of that from Jordan Love. So, how much of the offensive game plan does Aaron Rodgers kind of tweak,
Yeah.
or is it like a happy marriage between the LaFleur calls and kind of the Rodgers checks? Because we know Jordan Love doesn't have the ability yet at this point in his career to go out there and make adjustments, even if
Yeah.
he does see that they're going to send 7. Like,
Oh, I'm sure that Rodgers, like I said this with Andy and I wholeheartedly believe it. Like him and Tom Brady are probably the two quarterbacks left with the best football IQs. Like you're getting so much knowledge out there just to be able to like read the defense pre-snap that he can check into a different play. Also, he's been running this offense for 3 years. He knows the entire playbook. It's so different. It's so different. But again, you can't compare Jordan Love to that. You just have to have Matt LaFleur like account for that. I thought there were a couple of times where maybe it was like run pass, some RPOs and Jordan Love like checked into a different look, but he can't do that as often. He certainly doesn't have the chemistry with the wide receivers in order to do that either. I don't know. I think the biggest thing for me, because we were at a preseason game, right? And we saw, was that the one that Jordan Love played in? Yeah, it was. And yeah, it was the Texans game. Sorry, memory. And I'm thinking of that, and I think the Bills game. And the biggest like criticism, right, of Jordan Love in preseason was how often he took the check down. Like, want him to sling it. Why isn't he throwing the ball? In this game, I'm like begging for a check down as an option for him.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't even any for him to hit. There was one to AJ Dillon, which AJ Dillon, being him, caught like it wasn't even that good of a pass and then brought it for a first down. But it felt like could he have played a little bit better? Yeah, but there were a lot of things working against him between not being able to pick up the blitz, the offensive line not playing well, and no checkdowns. They didn't attack the middle of the field. Like they kept going to the sideline with the ball, which again, like if he can't make those accurate placements yet, that's fine. But like hit the middle of the field instead.
Yeah, and I think part of it too, And there's obviously a talent discrepancy here, right? Like we're looking at. I was going to say he doesn't have the skill set yet and the rapport with his receivers. AJ Dillon was his security blanket on offense, and in the second half, being down only 2 scores and at one point 1 score, they really went away from that. And obviously the argument is, hey, Aaron Rodgers went into State Farm State Farm Stadium last week with Juwan Winfrey and plenty of guys that he had zero rapport with. But there's a knowledge that comes with that, and I think it's
Yeah.
difficult for Jordan Love to get that kind of relationship with MVS and Alan Lazard and Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb. I was thinking about that actually kind of going into this whole week, and just even last season he wasn't even running the scout team. That was Tim Boyle. So
Right.
he, if you had Juwan Winfrey and Malik Taylor, maybe he would have had more comfort than with some of the guys that are out there. And obviously
Yeah. And you
like it
saw him go to the guy that he's most comfortable in, AJ Dillon. So yeah, okay, so besides the blitz, I think is like the most obvious issue. There were a couple of things that I thought he did really well. Like he looked really unrattled the whole game, which say what you want about demeanor, etc. I think that's really, really important. Like he scrambled a handful of times when he felt like it was important, but it's not like he was trying to use his legs all that much. He actually like took some hits and tried to hit his reads. He could barely get through his read progression by the time pressure went in his face. But I think those are the kinds of things that I think, you were looking for in this game. Like it's his very first start. I tweeted this out today. There was a botched snap that he had to deal with. He recovered from it. I thought he handled the ball security quite well. The interception was a 50-50 ball to Adams. Not a bad idea in my mind. Like Adams could have caught it, like he gave him a shot. So there were smaller things that I thought Love did really well, backed up in his own end zone. Again, like unfazed. So some like kind of unteachable, kind of intangible things that you look for in a quarterback to be like calm under pressure. I thought Aaron Jones had a really good quote in his presser after the game that he just like really commanded the huddle and felt like he was really like leading that offense in a way that you would want from your quarterback. So again, like he didn't light the world on fire. I didn't expect him to light the world on fire, but a couple of things that are at least promising.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot to like, especially in kind of the third and fourth quarter where it felt like the offense was getting in rhythm. But I
Yeah.
do think that, it is demoralizing when you are, going up against that kind of aggressive front that is going to be challenging you all game, especially as a rookie, and you get down into potential scoring position and you come up short multiple times. Like it
Yeah.
felt like it was really tough. I mean, none of the three phases were doing enough. Like the defense, arguably, yes, they absolutely did everything that they could to keep the offense in the game. And then you'd have like a muffed return or something would
Yeah.
happen where it was just like, man, it just felt like as much as we talk about the cohesion of the team and the way that all three phases kind of work in harmony, this was like the exact opposite of that, where there was always something with special teams where the offense would like Jordan Love shouldn't have to take the ball 90 yards down the field.
Yes. Oh, thank you. That was like one of my like biggest issues with some of the criticism from him. Like, sure, should the Packers have been better on third down? 100%. That's partly on him. That's partly on the offensive line. That's partly on Matt LaFleur. But he was backed up into his own like 15 or worse more than half of his possessions. Like that's a lot to ask any quarterback to go 85 plus yards drive down the field, let alone someone in their first start at Arrowhead, right? Like it was a little bit stacked against him. I think it felt like this game just felt like one step forward, two steps back.
Yeah.
Right? Like they'd have like a really good drive and then interception, or the defense would get a stop and then muffed punt, and just like they couldn't overcome any of those things. And like ultimately that's why they lost the game. Not even really because of anything the Chiefs did, because the Chiefs didn't play well in this game either. Patrick Mahomes and that offense did not play well. Arguably the defense just played really well. But for this like high flying offense to only score 13 points, like it's not like they gave the Packers every opportunity to take this game away from them.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why I know you say you don't like dealing in hypotheticals, and I totally get that. But I mean, if you look at, there were a lot of scoring opportunities. Like
Yeah.
even when Jordan Love was backed up into basically his own end zone at times, he would get the team into field goal range, and then it would either be bad play calling. They had the one kind of back shoulder that, if it's Rodgers and Tay, they hit it and it's money. But,
Yeah.
those are growing pains. But and even if to be in field goal range, the Packers were in field goal range enough times that they could have won the game 15-13. Like on field goals
Yeah.
alone, they just got into scoring range. And yes, they had the pick, like you said, the 50-50 ball to Tay. So there were plenty of opportunities. And, I think, maybe we talk about our plays that we really liked on offense, then flip it to the defense because, the Chiefs gave them every single opportunity to get back in the game. And I think that's what's frustrating is basically the defense did everything they could except score points, right? If the defense
Right.
gets a pick six, it's game over. So
I know. I think the one thing I do want to list out, and just because, like, again, this is not like being a Love apologist, but think about all the things, just like the offensive line, right? And I know I keep hitting on this, but like a false start, a botch snap, a holding call that brought back an Aaron Jones 19-yard run, right? Like momentum killers, unblocked free rushers, can't hold the blitz, absolutely just like making Love scramble a bunch of times. And that if and again, scrambling and hitting open receivers is something that Packers fans are very accustomed to because Aaron Rodgers is one of the best to ever do those kinds of things. But you shouldn't be asking your first start quarterback to have to hit those. And sure, it would have been nice to have seen him hit those, but not every. It felt like almost every like new set of downs, he was having to do something like that. When he had a clean pocket, and it's that last drive that you were talking about where they're really starting to get into that rhythm, he hits Tay, he hits MVS for that really big shot in the middle of the field. They're running AJ Dillon really well, and it's because of the clean pocket, right? Like no penalties. So you take what you can out of this. Do I think that Jordan Love showed anything for me to think like, oh yeah, he's the future of the Packers? Like, no, but he has plenty of time, and most quarterbacks in their first start don't look that great either. So riveting analysis by me.
Do you want to talk about your play of the game and I'll do mine and then we can switch to the defense? All right, I'll put yours up.
Okay. It's really nothing like that special. I think the one thing about this play that really had me was, right, we just talked about it's been a super, super inconsistent up and down night for this Packers team. They decide to go for it on 4th and 1 because why the heck not? They're in Chiefs territory. They should. I loved this call. And I'm thinking here again, like, are they just going to hand it to AJ Dillon? No. LaFleur actually puts it in Love's hands and has him throw to Tay. And I know that may seem like, okay, yeah, that's just a good play call. It is a good play call. But in my mind, when I was watching, I said, wow, that's a head coach that trusts his quarterback. And I feel like for the development and just like for the team in general to see LaFleur put the ball in Love's hands in that situation was like a really, really big positive. It's like we still have 11 minutes left in this game, and I believe in you to use your ability and your arm to drive this ball down the field and score. So that's why I love this play. This was my favorite play of the game for that reason. Obviously, you want to hit your number one receiver. Tay got it done, but I'm really, really impressed with Love in a really critical position.
Yeah, I mean, and then if you look at the second, I guess it would have been the third at this point, but the third and final 4th down was a 4th and 5 conversion that went for a touchdown. So I think that was a huge confidence builder early in the 4th quarter to kind of let Jordan Love get a feel for it. So then when they did go for it, that was obviously his first NFL touchdown. So I think that was really significant.
Yes, absolutely.
Mine, I called the faux pony because that's Randall Cobb back there with AJ Dillon. It is not Aaron Jones. Last week, I talked about an actual pony package with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon that I loved because Aaron Jones kind of leaked out and then AJ Dillon took it up the middle. That is exactly what happens here, and it is the longest run of the day. AJ Dillon for 15 yards right up the gut. You have Cobb kind of leaking out to the side, and then AJ Dillon takes it right up the middle. So to me, it was kind of another wrinkle like what we saw last week, but you've got Cobby back there instead of Aaron Jones. So just thinking about all the different ways that they could run this, whether they put Aaron Jones out wide, which we saw actually quite a bit with Jordan Love yesterday, or, Cobby out wide and then he got a traditional pony package. Just a lot of fun to see two guys in the backfield to me, whether
I
they're
know, we love that.
we really do.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you mentioned Cobb because we talked about this pre-show, and I think it deserves note that he had a really nice game. I mean, came up with like some really, really big completions. He had that one, I think it was a screen to him that just got Cobb in space, and he got a first down that he really, really, really needed. So just nice to see him back. It's good to have him back.
And just the energy, I think,
Yeah.
too. Like, he got up from that, and he was so
Oh,
fired up. Like,
yeah.
I know I told my dad, I was like, these are the reasons that you want players like that back, even more so than their abilities on the field. It's just, like, I have to think that Cobb was, like, one of the guys for Jordan Love this week as far as from, like, a confidence and a mentality and just, like, the energy that we saw him put out on the field. All of those things are confidence boosters that regardless of what happens, maybe we'll get lucky and see Jordan Love start week 18 because the Packers will have locked up, the 1 seed or whatever. But when Jordan Love takes the field again, you're hoping that those are little confidence builders that he has from the guys he was playing with.
Yeah, absolutely. So things that unequivocally 100% were great in this game, the defense.
The entire defense.
The entire defense.
Yeah.
So first of all, Stokes doesn't even start the game because he hurts himself in pregame warmups. LaFleur said today, not a long-term issue, not worried about that. Thankfully, Kenny Clark goes down. Luckily, Kevin King came back, right?
Yeah.
Like, what would they have done? Kenny Clark goes down mid-game, back issue. Again, Matt LaFleur said not worried about it being a long-term issue, which is even better news because Kenny Clark is like the linchpin of this entire front. But then you get guys like TJ Slayton coming in, and Kevin King had, by my accounts, a positive game. But just another example of the defense stepping up, putting it together, and like really shutting down the Chiefs' offense.
Yeah, I mean, this was, I believe, the least productive outing of Patrick Mahomes' career. And, you can argue, yeah, he's only been in the league a couple seasons. But yeah, but when you think about going to back-to-back Super Bowls and what we've seen from this offense with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Mecole Hardman and guys that can make explosive plays at any given moment, Patrick Mahomes included, the way that the defense performed, like you said, Kenny Clark goes out. You've got TJ Slayton in the middle of the defense, who is a rookie, who hasn't taken that many snaps along the defensive line, and he's pushing the pocket. Rashawn Gary had the defense his only sack. Chandon Sullivan may have had one of his best games as a Packer. It is not easy to cover Tyreek Hill.
So did Darnell Savage.
So Darnell Savage looked incredible. The whole output from the defense.
Just the lights turned on for all of them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was Aaron Nagler that said it this morning where, it just kind of goes to show, like, we were wondering, like, what's going to be so different about this defense under Joe Barry than what they had with Mike Pettin, because basically everybody was the same except for, I guess, now arguably an inside linebacker, which we're learning was significant. Devondre Campbell was light years beyond what anybody expected, but just kind of shows that with the right coordinator, you can get, regardless of the pieces that are there, you can get the production. I don't think any of us would have expected the kind of output that we're seeing with guys continuously going down. It feels like every week somebody on the defense goes down, and then you have an unsung hero of the game that steps up in a huge way.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's energy from Joe Barry or if it's got to be something that he's doing, right? Because they are playing faster, they're rallying to the football, they're tackling much better than they ever have before. But there is something to be said for having top of the line inside linebackers. I mean, we watched the Bucs defense last year just demolish opposing offenses, Packers included, no matter how good they were, because of their really quick and speedy and playing with ferocity inside linebackers. And you're seeing that especially last night from Devondre Campbell and Chris Barnes. I mean, Chris Barnes had his best game of the season also last night. And I joked about this today, but like, you're looking for like some energy for Jordan Love on the offensive side of the ball, but I actually think like the energy came from the defense. I mean, the defense played so hard for him. I mean, Chris Barnes is his friend from high school, right? Like, how great. He probably was like, I'm going to do what I can for my boy. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to play the best game possible for my boy. Now that's me projecting. But at the same time, you look at the output on the field, and every single one of those defensive guys stepped up and again gave the offense every opportunity. And that's all that you can ask them to do. Now you can, nitpick and say, should Kevin King have picked off Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. I'll take a pass breakup anyway, right? Like they just put it together. They all did their 111th.
Yeah. And I mean, talking about kind of carrying on the inside linebackers, Oren Burks lit up, a couple plays. And yes, obviously he jumped off sides, negating an interception, which I'm not sure Patrick Mahomes throws
Would have thrown
anyway,
that, yeah.
knowing it wasn't offsides. But yeah, I mean, all of the inside linebackers have played really well. And, as much as the Jalen Smith experiment kind of came and went really quickly, I think that kind of is a testament to the guys that were in the locker room and, for them to feel as strongly as they do about Chris Barnes and Oren Burks, knowing that, they can rely on guys not named Devondre Campbell to fill in key moments. Chris Barnes had just
the best
fantastic game. It was incredible.
Saved a touchdown single-handedly, right? Yeah, they just keep getting better. Every week they keep playing better, and it's astounding because of all the players that they don't have out there with them on the field. Like, we don't even need to list it anymore. Everybody knows, everyone can see it. Yeah. And to think about this team getting those key players back for the last, like, even if it's just the last month of the season for that stretch in the playoffs, like, you want Zadarius Smith fresh in the cold, hitting your quarterback. You want Jair Alexander back, hopefully fully healthy. You would have an incredible rotation of defensive backs for Joe Barry and Jerry Gray to kind of rotate in and out and pick and choose and utilize all of their skill sets. It's not a bad problem to have. Like, Rasul Douglas had another really great game, and this is a really, really tough matchup. They're fast. Like, this Chiefs team is fast. And then you add in Travis Kelce, who's like still one of the best tight ends in the league, like big physical guy in the middle of the field, and they handled them. I mean, special teams essentially gifted them 3 points. So Packers defense like basically held this offense to 10 points. And I don't know if you can ask for much more.
Yeah. I mean, I listened, of course, to the Pack a Day podcast with you and Andy Herman this morning. And, it really cannot be understated kind of the way that this defense is performing without all those those key names that we talked about with Z and Jair. Like, I think it's such a foreign concept for Packers fans to think of having a better defense than offense. And that's not saying that, when this offense goes on a tear, you finally got MVS back. I'm excited to see, hopefully Aaron can clear protocols and come back for the Seattle game. I'd like to see what the offense looks like with a healthy MVS and Devontae and Cobb and, all the weapons at his disposal, especially at Lambeau, now knowing that Russell Wilson is coming back. But right now, this is a Packers offense that's 20th in points for, and the defense is 6th, holding teams to 20 points per game. Like, just think about that going into the season, us talking about having a Packers defense that is in the top 10 in points allowed per game, especially knowing what the red zone defenses look like.
I literally wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this
especially without the starters, like maybe we'd believe it if everyone was healthy, but
it's just crazy too to me. Like, this offense, obviously has not reached their potential either. So if they start clicking at the right time and they go on a run, like, this is going to be a very, very, very dangerous Packers team. Now, at this point, it's, I think, really up in the air if Rodgers plays next week. I mean, earliest he can come back is Saturday. That does not give a lot of wiggle room here for him. But I think at that point, you're going up against an NFC opponent. And while no, the Seahawks are not like this big juggernaut that we have once known them to be, it's still an NFC opponent and potential playoff opponent because Russ is coming back. This is not a game you want to drop. This one matters a lot more. I think it's like completely different circumstances, it being at Lambeau if Love does start. But this is looking ahead a little bit, like this is the one I think you got to walk away with the win.
Yeah, especially the home games. It was a McCarthyism, but he always said, like, you win your division games and then you split split your away games. Like you have to win at home, you win in the division, and then if
Yeah.
you can split the road games, you're pretty much poised statistically for a playoff appearance every season. And the rest of the NFC did the Packers a favor, right? The Rams
Yeah.
dropped to the Titans, the Cardinals won, of course, but the Packers hold that tiebreaker. So if at any point the Cardinals drop another game and fall down to, they're 8-1, Packers 7-2, but the Packers are in this. They've got the tiebreaker with the Rams potentially coming up in a couple weeks. It's a tough 3-game stretch. They dropped one. We talked about this in the Chiefs preview. A lot of people had this circled as an L already on the schedule. And I think the thing that makes it a little bit challenging is you think about if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, kind of feels like it's a really easy W for the Packers, which maybe we didn't think at the beginning of the season. So that's why it hurts. But now you've got Seattle, the Vikings, and the Rams as your next 3. And those are games that are going to matter a lot more than the Chiefs game did.
Right, exactly. But presumably there will be Aaron Rodgers back, and they can kind of get back on track. And this offense, it has all the makings to be contenders for late playoff Super Bowl. And especially when this defense, I don't think Aaron Rodgers has had a defense play this well since 2010. Not even exaggerating, not trying to be hyperbolic. I genuinely mean that as someone who has watched over the last decade, Packers defense, him having to carry every Packers defense. So it's an exciting time. Obviously, special teams has to get their shit together. It's been gone over ad nauseum. I don't know if I have anything additional to add other than they need to get it together. Just return a punt or 2. Don't pin your offense back within their own 15 every single game. Try not to whiff. Mason Crosby is one of the best kickers in the league, and he's struggling this year because the unit is making it really difficult for him to make extra points and field goals. That cannot happen. Mason Crosby is money, and he's struggling because of the rest of the unit. They just need to clean it up, because you cannot have a special teams performance like they had against the Chiefs in an actual important playoff game.
Yeah, you can't leave all those points on the board. And I think it's kind of telling too, not that any of us, I'm not trying to discredit the way that fans watch games, but when you have people on their couches going, get the laces out. I don't think those are things that normal fans should be able to observe. And it's still something that's happening week after week with a special teams unit. And, I thought there was a possibility that the holder was the long snapper was part of the problem. Obviously you made the joke that that's a peak Packers move at the trade deadline to instead just get a new long snapper. But the entire operation, there's something going on. Whether the snaps are low, Corey Bojorquez doesn't have enough time to spin the ball, whatever is happening, there's something not right about the entire operation. And it's like you said, you got to get it cleaned up before, honestly, even before next week. You're not going to want to leave points on the board going up against an offense like the Rams.
No, definitely not. Although Matt Stafford did not look good Sunday night. So
it's true. He's not really good against winning teams.
It was a really wonky, wonky Sunday. And you said it, the rest of the NFC obviously did the Packers a favor, which also makes you kind of wish that the Packers had pulled this one out, because they really did have the opportunity to.
They had many opportunities.
They had many opportunities to win this game, but I'm putting obviously a positive spin on it because this is what we do here. Absolutely valuable reps and snaps for Jordan Love that nobody thought that he would have. A game that dropping it is not the end of the world for holistically this Packers season. And I do really think it was a win-win situation for him, for the team, for the organization moving forward. It was really fun to sit back and root for him and watch him get his first career touchdown and see his mom and girlfriend in the stands, albeit very, very, very far away from the field. So yeah, trying not to put too much stock into this singular performance, and also remember that the Packers are 7-2 and they're poised to take the 1 seed if they want it.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this, is that you can't look at this under a microscope. The Packers front offense, they're not going to make decisions about either quarterback after one game. There's a lot that's going to go into the offseason, right? Including a lot of salary cap issues. There's a lot for this Packers team to figure out. So I guess the best advice is enjoy the 7-2 football team. Don't think about what's going to happen in March and April and May. Think about having a Super Bowl caliber Packers team with a number 6 points allowed defense, because
The
It's huge.
takeaway from this game is how well the defense played, because that's the unit that's going to continue playing moving forward. And that's the unit that's going to take this Packers team through the playoffs and hopefully to what the goal is of every single season, which is to the Super Bowl. Cannot overstate, cannot continue. I can't say enough about them, especially because the best players weren't even on the field. I mean, the idea of how good this unit can be with those guys on there is so exciting.
Yeah, and I think it says a lot that like, I don't know about you, I don't wanna speak for you, but you're watching a game like this, and I'm like, "Okay, I feel confident knowing that the defense can force a 3 and out, or that they can get a stop, or they can, hold an offense out of the red zone." And then to do it against Patrick Mahomes, who, can make just about anything happen with his legs or his arm, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Like, yes, they had some drops, but a lot of that was because the Packers defense was contesting
Yeah.
every ball and making it just impossible for them to march down the field. And, again, that's going to be something really important. We saw it against the Cardinals. We saw it against the Chiefs. They're going to face really good offenses the rest of the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs had more 3 and outs and punted more this game than they have all season. Like
Yeah.
it was a really, really impressive performance by this Packers defense. So that is my takeaway, and I'm excited to see them back at home. Regardless of, honestly, if it's Russ, it's looking like it's going to be, or if it's Geno Smith, I have full confidence that this Packers defense can stop a pretty boring and average Seahawks offense, no matter who's under center.
Yeah. Maybe they'll have Odell come into Lambeau next
Ugh.
week.
Good
It's
luck
on
to
the
them if
waivers.
they
We'll
do.
see what happens.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it as always. We will be back this week with our Seahawks preview. It will drop on the normal day. We have a couple of very exciting guests that are joining us over the course of the rest of the season. So please stay tuned for those. If you don't already, you're probably already watching this on our Twitter account, but follow us at PWSS Podcast, Facts What She Said on Instagram and Twitch. Mine and Maggie's handles are here on the screen. Don't forget, this show is sponsored by Manscaped. So if you want 20% off, use the code PWSS20 for 20% off Manscaped products. Some fun Thanksgiving and Christmas things are coming out soon from them. The Packers are 7-2. Packers are 7-2, and they're going home. They're going home for the next couple of games, actually. So get excited, 7-2, and go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.